It's the third planned lunar exploration mission by the Indian Space Research Organization. A mission to demonstrate end-to-end capability in safe landing and roving on the lunar surface. This is Chandrayaan-3. India is all set to become the fourth nation to land a spacecraft on the moon. Indeed, a proud moment for the entire subcontinent. Hello there, I am Dasuni Athauda, bringing you this edition of Inside South Asia from Colombo, Sri Lanka. Record monsoon rainfall in North India over last week has taken on monstrous proportions. Rivers turned into ferocious torrents have devoured life and infrastructure. Hill station landslides along with flooding has also turned horrific. Take a look at this lot.
No nightmare or sci-fi movie scene. This one's for real. The image of a road turned torrential swirling stream that steamrolls all in its wake is of an industrial town in Solan district of Himachal Pradesh, a state that bore the brunt of the rain havoc. Over 400 meters of fierce rains over 4 days is the highest the area has seen in 53 years. Or sample this. The sheer threatening ferocity of this river, the Bias in Kullu, is nerve-wracking. It's given rise to some of the most dramatic videos. A hotel in Manali and cars parked along a monsoon stream swept away. Or a private hotel collapsing into gushing waters, shops and all. In Himachal Pradesh state alone, over 100 villages are reported submerged. The list is unending. All of North India felt it. 5 states, 6 river systems, at least 12.5 cities. Bridges washed away, power stations submerged, temples drowned. Besides the rescue teams in full operations taking on nature's bite and falling by the wayside. Spare a thought for the Indian capital and other prided metro cities. The heaviest showers in 40 years marooned the national capital region. The city got 261 millimeters of rain, or 125% of what it gets on average in July over the last weekend. Opening up sinkholes on arterial roads, collapsing buildings, uprooting trees, inundating neighborhoods, and more than anything else, exposing big administrational shortcomings and violations. So why the onslaught, and can India expect more ahead? Experts blame the persistent deluge on what they call an interaction between a western disturbance and a monsoon trough. The unusual interaction that was responsible for a relatively mild summer can be devastating, like what happened in Uttarakhand state in 2013.
There was a trough extending from Rajasthan to North Arabian Sea associated with western disturbance. And at the same time, due to the strong monsoon conditions, the wind from Bay of Bengal were also reaching the north. And with these two systems centered around J&K on Saturday and around Himachal Pradesh on Sunday, these areas got moisture both from Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, resulting in very heavy rainfall.
The good news is a fresh western disturbance is not expected immediately. But climate change patterns could mean increase in moisture holding capacity that can supercharge rainfall. A question that's been asked 1,000 times lingers again. Will lessons be learned?
The monsoons have also battered Pakistan. More than 80 reported killed in rain-related havoc over the past month and a half. A prayer for all facing nature's fury in these two countries. Let's now move on and focus our attention to a political visit in New Delhi. The Maldivian foreign minister was in India. My colleague Bhairavi Singh caught up with the minister to know more about the ties between the two nations. Take a look.
Hello and welcome to this very special interview with the Foreign Minister of Maldives, Abdullah Shayad, who is here on a two-day visit. We talked to him about this particular visit as well as the larger strategic relationship between India and the Maldives. Remember, Maldives is an important maritime partner for India. Thank you, sir, for talking to us this afternoon. I know
Always
you're on a very tight schedule here in India, but a pleasure talking to you. Tell us about this particular visit and the outcomes of that. Maldives is an important maritime partner and within the ambit of India's neighborhood first policy.
I am here on the invitation of the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar. Dr. Jaishankar and I met and we reviewed the ongoing development projects in the Maldives under Indian assistance. I'm very happy that many of the projects are ongoing, on schedule. As you would know, we have very large projects like the Greater Mali Connectivity Project, the Hanimadu International Airport, the upgrading of Addu International Airport, water and sanitation projects in 34 islands, road development, reclamation projects, but also we have small high impact community projects.
I do want to ask about the fact that there's a string of opposition leaders who are mounting the slogan "India out" in the Maldives. How concerning is that, given the fact that there are always sentiments and quarters that say there's a China factor at play as well in that?
Well, India out campaign, as they call it themselves, is I would always regard that as a group of people who has nothing better to sell. No solid proposals to the people, no policies to sell to the people. So what they have done is create hate. And they have come out to sell hate to the people. But the people of Maldives will not buy it. And that is why we have not seen this take off. Right. This is a fringe group of people. Yes, the leadership of PPM is leading it, but they have not been able to have this nationwide takeoff of this campaign.
Right.
And because the relationship between the people of Maldives and the people of India are too solid. Yes. The relationship between our two governments, our two peoples, our two countries has and continues to be too solid.
Is your government confident of another term that you're here so close to the election?
Well, President Saleh, under his presidency, has undertaken projects given the fact that we had to go through almost 2.5 years of COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
In spite of that, the amount of work that has been done to uplift the living standard of the people and making sure that the people of the country are better off now than in 2018. That speaks volumes. And that is why President Saleh and I are confident that he will win.
I do want to ask you about a specific statement that you made, that our partnership is with everyone. We have a special relationship with India. India is our immediate next door neighbor. Our partnership is with everyone. This could be read by some as, trying to project an equidistance from both India and China, or would that be too much of a stretch?
Well, our position is very clear.
Yes.
We are friends to everyone.
Yes.
And enemy to none. And that is the starting point for us. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we understand the historical perspective where we are coming from. And that is, every time there's an emergency and we dial the international 911, India is the first responder. Why? Yes, India is our largest neighbor, but there are countries in several parts of the world where they have large neighbors. They dial the international 911 and the largest neighbor doesn't come.
I see.
But in our case, irrespective of what government is in Maldives or what government is here in Delhi, the response has always been the same.
Your visit here, is it laying ground for a presidential visit sometime soon this year? How can we expect that to happen?
Well, a presidential visit, I think, given the fact that already campaigning has started in Maldives, would take place after the elections.
Yes.
And I'm sure that Delhi would be on the top of the list of potential presidential visits once President Saleh is in office for his second term.
Right. So we certainly look forward to that. Abdullah Shayad, sir, thank you very much indeed for taking out your time today in a busy schedule and talking to us at WION. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sri Lanka's economy has shown signs of recovery. However, the situation is still far from normalcy. Shortages, scarcities, as well as uncertainty still exists. As a result of this, Sri Lanka is currently experiencing an unprecedented amount of professionals leaving the country in hopes of experiencing greener pastures. This has now led to a worrying level of a brain drain in the island nation. Here's more.
Colombo's notorious queues for food and fuel have eased. But at the Department of Immigration and Emigration, they grow longer by the day. 99.9% of these people, young and old, single and family folk, are not exactly looking for the post-pandemic getaway. Getting out of the uncertainty of what tomorrow may bring in Sri Lanka is what's on top of their mind.
The situation is not improving in Sri Lanka. When we consider it from the perspective of our children, it is better to leave.
Cost is going high, no? Every day is going high, but the salary amount is same. The companies are not increasing their salaries. So that's why we are trying to leaving. All the people are trying to leaving that reason.
The Foreign Employment Bureau, where Sri Lankans must register before taking up jobs overseas, is proverbially bursting at the seams. Thousands of IT workers have decamped, potentially cramping one of Sri Lanka's fastest growing industries. Hundreds of doctors are gone. A continuing outflow could cripple rural hospitals. The numbers here tell the story. Registries of professionals looking to emigrate surged from 122,000 in 2021 to a record 311,000 in 2022. Incidentally, the Bureau recorded around 122,000 people leaving in the first 5 months of 2023, the same as the whole of 2021. The number of passport applications more than doubled from over 382,500 in 2021, when the economy grew by 3.3%, to a record 911,689 passports in 2022, when the economy contracted 7.8%. This year through May, 433,000 overseas travel documents have been issued. Sri Lanka's prolonged economic crisis has given them many reasons to go. Annual inflation was 50.6% in February, and salaries aren't keeping up as taxes climb. The IMF package may have come as a breath of fresh air, but it's hardly done enough to stop people from looking for more contented lives and better futures for self and family.
Engineers, architects, quantity surveyors, then accountants, the middle-level technical officers, all are going, and construction workers. And in fact, now what has happened is, say senior engineers with about 10 senior professionals, and not only engineers, with about 10 to 15 years experience, they are going at lower rates on foreign employment, lower salaries.
The Sri Lankan government, interestingly, sees the exodus as a positive, actively encouraging the train. It eyes positives in a lighter public sector wage bill and increased remittances that are Sri Lanka's biggest source of foreign currency. Some are even being trained to go as per demand in the West, New Zealand and more. Yet the dangers are obvious. By pushing out its brightest talent, Sri Lanka is depriving itself of the people it needs to rebuild at home. The outcome seems to be pushing Sri Lanka into bigger loss than gain.
From a tourist helicopter crash in Nepal to a new rail service between Iran and Afghanistan. Up next, let's take a look at what else is happening in South Asia.
Yet another air accident horror in Nepal this year. 6 people were killed in a helicopter crash in central Nepal, near Mount Everest. The chopper, which departed from Solokhunvu district, where the tallest mountain is situated, had 5 Mexican nationals and 1 Nepali pilot on board. The missing tourist helicopter fell off the radar minutes after taking off. The helicopter was operated by Manang Air, which ferries tourists seeking a view of the country's towering peaks, including Everest. Airport authorities have revealed that due to unfavorable weather conditions, the helicopter had to alter its flight route. The government is investigating exact circumstances that led to the tragedy. The mountainous country has a history of air crashes, as many airlines fly to small airports in remote hills and near peaks, often shrouded in clouds and cut off from roads. Nepal's worst air crash in 30 years killed 71 people in January when a passenger plane went down near the tourist city of Pokhara.
This This is the Afghan town of Rozanak in the western province of Herat. On the 11th of July, a cargo train carrying 400 tons of railway track and sleeper carriages arrived here. Authorities have resumed the construction of a railway line. The Kaf-Herat railway is 225 kilometers long. The train route so far links the Iranian city of Kaf with Rozanak, allowing the exchange of goods. But it's also touted as a gateway to Europe for Afghanistan.
Thousands of members of an Islamist group in Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka, protested burning of the Quran in Sweden. Anger has grown in Muslim countries since last week, when a man identified in Swedish media as a Christian from Iraq set fire to Islam's holy book outside a mosque in Stockholm on the festival of Eid al-Adha. Protesters from the conservative Islami-Andolon Bangladesh group, which supports the introduction of Islamic law in the Muslim-majority nation, carried banners and placards reading, "Only evil burned the Holy Quran, boycott Sweden, and burning Quran is terrorism." On the other hand, in Afghanistan, the Taliban administration halted all activity by Sweden in response to the incident. Although Sweden no longer has an embassy in Afghanistan since the Taliban took over in 2021, there is the Swedish Committee for Afghanistan, or SCA, an aid organization that has been working in the country.
And that's all we have for you on our show this week. We hope you enjoyed it. For the WION team, I'm Dasuni Athauda signing off. Do join us next week as well.